Live at 5, people living in downtown Atlanta now demanding improved safety measures after a 71-year-old man was killed in a hit-and-run crash on Peachtree Street. It is the second pedestrian death in that area within just the last 3 months. Atlanta News First senior reporter Patrick Quinn joining us live at 5 from Peachtree and Baker Street. And Patrick, it has happened again.
Tracy, I was here just 3 months ago. Just 2 blocks up the street, a 67-year-old man was hit and killed while crossing the street. And this weekend, a 71-year-old man was hit and killed while crossing the street, both along Peachtree Street here in downtown Atlanta. And now neighbors and some city officials, they're calling on the mayor's administration to do more to protect pedestrians.
This shouldn't be happening on Peachtree Street. It's the main street of Atlanta.
John Fisher with the Neighborhood Association calling for change after a 71-year-old pedestrian was hit and killed in downtown Atlanta. Police said on Sunday around 6:45 in the morning, Michael Crabtree of Alabama was in the crosswalk when a black sedan hit him and drove off.
How many more accidents have to happen in the city and people have to lose their lives before we take traffic as a problem?
3 months ago, up 2 blocks on Peachtree, local businessman 67-year-old Pradeep Sood was hit by a car while crossing the street.
We talked to the mayor's administration and said if you don't do something at Peachtree Center, this is going to happen again.
After that death, the Atlanta City Council approved funding to remove what was a fated crosswalk where Sood died. Today, the council pushed Atlanta's Department of Transportation for more safety improvements on this busy corridor.
We just had another pedestrian fatality on Peachtree Street just a couple of days ago, right at Baker Street.
In 2021, the city launched a pilot program here called Shared Streets, which included traffic calming devices like these curb cuts. In 2022, after 8 months, Mayor Dickens ended that program, despite this area seeing a crash rate that was 8 to 17 times the statewide average. Today, Council President Doug Shipman pressed DOT Commissioner Solomon Cavanis if that program could still be reinstalled for the roughly 300,000 visitors coming to Atlanta for the World Cup.
Shared streets, I cannot commit to prior to World Cup. However, there are treatments that can be done to this configuration that support safety.
For Fisher, he feels the city is prioritizing paving streets over protecting pedestrians.
It's not safe for those of us that live here day in and day out.
And I was able to talk to the family of the man who died here. They said they are not ready to talk about this incident. It's still very trying, as you can imagine. Again, that black sedan drove off. We do not have any information at this point on a potential suspect. Now, as you heard from Solomon Cavanis, the commissioner for DOT, he suggested that potential changes could be coming to this corridor. A spokesperson for the Department of Transportation said there will be public meetings about this, but did not give any dates. From downtown Atlanta, Patrick Quinn, Atlanta News First.